Hello. Is anybody awake? Is anybody awake? Hmm? So I wanted to start a conversation. I know it's been, I don't know, seems like forever since I had conversations about intimacy um, and just sex and understanding. So I wanted to just bring in some people to just join with me about this very unique question that I get asked a lot from my clients and even the people that just want to know. They're inquiring, they're inquisitive, they're curious. Um, Oftentimes, a lot of people are wondering um, how do they curve their um, their sexual appetite and what can they do to um, really change how their sexuality is just not being where they want it to be. So I want to welcome everybody. This is your coach, Carla Nicole. Um, Listen, if you need to get a hold to me or if you would love a session, please do not hesitate to look in the description. All of my information is there to get a hold to me. Also, um, a lot of times we really aren't sure um, certain things that's going on with us because we're just not, to my opinion, I think a lot of times we're not sure how to even investigate or check on some things as to why we have these desires and they don't seem to go away. We continue to want to um, within the confines of some type of energetic sexual engagement, but we can't seem to do that because, of course, we might not have a partner or we don't have someone we can trust. So we're really in a bind here, and we've been, we'll just say, single or newly divorced, or we just got out of a relationship, or we're in a relationship but we're not intimate. I'm finding that that is a big issue with a lot of people. They're in relationships, but they're not really in a relationship. If you're just curious, it's like, well, if you're not sure and you're coming out of a relationship, the best thing to do is to let me know if you can hear me a little better now. I'll speak up. Is that better? So if you're having a hard time with trying to be in a relationship because you've come out of a relationship or you have been in a relationship for a long time and you're really not sure what to do, then I think what we can consider is some things that we're going to talk about. So welcome everybody. I appreciate the compliment. Listen, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Um, Graham, let me know if you can hear me better. Let me know if my sound is better. I did talk up because I didn't realize that my sound was too low. So, listen, I want to explain that in this scenario where you have come out of a relationship or you have come out of a marriage, you're recently divorced, you've been out of a relationship or you're in a relationship and there's really no intimacy anymore because of whatever reasons. I get it. Sometimes you have some intimacy issues or you're noticing that there's some, you know, erectile dysfunctions, or even maybe because of menopausal issues, you're not as lubricant as you would like to be during intimacy. So all of these different reasons for not having intimacy like you so desire, you'll find that, ooh, unfortunately, because I'm not where I need to be, or I don't have a partner, or my partner isn't where he needs to be, then I'm finding myself in a bind, and I get it. So what I would strongly suggest is, let's talk about why, first of all, our sex drive or our desire to be intimate is so high. What is going on with us? Why do we have to be in that desire for so highly all the time? And so I did have a client come to me, and he pulled me into a one-on-one because he's really struggling with his um, sex drive being overly on overdrive. And I explained to him, I said, well, I get it. I said, but sometimes it's because of a lack somewhere. And I said, what's going on? And he says, well, my girl keeps telling me I'm a nympho, that I just want it too much. I said, really? He said, yeah, she just says that I just want it all the time and I can't get enough and I don't understand what's wrong with me. And I said, well, it's not something that's wrong. It's just something that's incompatible. Or perhaps maybe you and she are just not on the same sexual drive here. And that can happen. You can be with someone that you love, care about, want to be with. However, the drives are off and you still have the urge. And I'm telling you this because I get this conversation often in private. Many people are telling me that they're struggling with, hey, look, my spouse isn't able to rise to me now. And I really need to be intimate in that way. And it's really frustrating. Greetings, living soul. And I'm like, I get it, but the problem is it's difficult as it is. I would like for you to consider maybe just trying to tune out the fact that it's your drive, but I wanted to give you something that maybe no one's ever told you. And the truth is, you are probably a very high purposeful person, and you just don't realize that your sex drive and your desire for sex to be in an overdrive like that is usually because you have a higher purpose on the planet. Now, I know you all are looking at me like, what the hell does purpose have to do with sex? Everything. Go ahead and click off if that's not your vibe, but I'm here to tell you it's what's real. Sex is because of creating, and it's desirous because you want to be connected to someone. We have a sexual desire because it inspires our creative energy. Are you hearing what I'm telling you? So if you have a high sex drive, most likely you are a person that should be high on your purpose. And if you don't have a partner that's actually matching you energetically, then they're going to often complain. Now, here's the thing. Sexuality is what it is. It's what we're born with. It's our human nature. But a lot of times we have a confusion about, why is my sex so desirous and why do I feel like I'm with a partner that just doesn't get it? They just can't be in the same flow with me. I feel like I'm too much or they're not enough, or vice versa. Problem is, a lot of people don't talk about the fact that some people are not finding themselves enjoying sex. Okay, buckle up, because it's about to be a bumpy ride. Put your seatbelts on, guys, because it's about to be bumpy here. Let me be honest with you. Um, Unfortunately, because a lot of people don't really know their anatomy and they're not aware of their sexuality, they haven't studied at all their sexual drives themselves, they're uncomfortable with sex. Now, here's the thing. I know this is going to sound crazy, but a lot of times Some women have a hard time coming to orgasm. And so when they're having sex, they feel like they're doing it out of just obligation, not because they desire it or want it. And here's why. You guys ready? Buckle up. The reason why a lot of times women don't want intimacy is because they're unsure of how their actual sexual anatomy works. They haven't studied, they haven't checked, they haven't had a lover to check in to actually pay attention. Here's what's true about intimacy. When you are coming to know your sexuality, if I'm honest, and you have a lover that really, really, really wants to get to know you and your body and your needs and your pleasure points and what makes you happy and what makes you joyful, if you have a lover that's really inquisitive about what your needs are and what you really want and need, you'll find yourself more advertently, believe it or not, you'll find yourself more knowledgeable of what it is that you can actually get and gain by being intimate. Sex is for us to be more creative. This is what the real reason for sexuality is. It's for creation, not just creating babies. Because if that's the case, after we create our children, our sex drives and sex life and sexual desire will be done. Even before we had kids, it would be done. We wouldn't even. It wouldn't even be. It wouldn't even be careful. We wouldn't even care about it. It wouldn't. After we have kids, it's over. But that's not the case. So what is sex really in its real nature? Well, the truth of the matter is, the real nature is for creativity. That's what it's for. So here's what's true. Like I said earlier, a lot of times our lovers don't really pay attention to what it is we need sexually. And so because we haven't really studied, we don't know either. We're not sure. And if I'm really vivid here, a lot of females don't like penetration all like that. It doesn't bring them joy at all. They're just not into it. This is why a lot of women would rather oral than actual penetration, believe it or not, because they just don't seem to get that joy from actual intimacy. And it's not because of the fact that they can't climax from sex, it's because they don't know how to climax from sex. And the truth is, you have to study it. You got to pay attention. How do you get toe curling sexual orgasms? Is by actually paying attention to your pleasure points in your vagina. If you don't know it, you have no clue. And you'll think to yourself, oh, I don't really want a man for that. I would just rather him just go down on me and that's it. It's like, it's more than that. Because once you understand what it is that you need in that area, in your realm, in your feminine area, then you'll find out like, oh, okay, this is what I truly need. But unfortunately, a lot of times there's a lot of unawareness. But that comes from not really studying and learning your body. And then here's the other thing. When you don't have a lover that's available, or you don't have a lover that's inquisitive about you and what your needs are or what you need, then you'll find out, man, I'm just not getting it here. It's not moving me. It's not. And so guess what happens? We no longer find our desire to be intimate, unfortunately. Here's what I want to explain to you about how to really realize why you have this urge and you cannot stop it for whatever reason. You can't stop it because it's a part of you. It's a part of you. It's actually a sign to let you know that there's a part of you that you need to tap into that needs to be about your creation. And your creations usually come from your gifts, your talents. What are you good at? And a lot of times we don't realize, "Well, I don't know what I'm good at. I don't know, when you learn about what you're good at, you'll realize the correlation with your sexuality, with what it is and what it takes to build you to orgasm comes from your desire and self in your soul. And when you're intimate with a lover, you'll find out that your climax comes from not just the pleasure that you're given, but also the joy inside of you being in that space with a lover and not having any guilt for it. Here's what's true. A lot of times people don't want to admit it, but a lot of people have a lot of guilt when it comes to sexual energy, when it comes to sharing that space with someone. I'm guilty about this and I'm guilty about that, and oh my God, look at my body, and what is he going to think about this? It's a lot going on in the mind. And so when you're so hung up on everything that you're feeling that you're not, or you're so hung up on everything you think you should be doing, or how you should be looking, or what you should be wearing, and all of those things, it really caps off the true joy of intimacy. And here's a nighty night thought for you. The problem is we can't get down with the get down if we got so much in our heart harboring about, oh my God, I feel so guilty and I don't think I should be doing this, and oh my God, this and that and the third. It's like you gotta let that go. Here's what's true. In real sex, there comes a point when you have to realize that you have to let go of all your childhood traumas, all of your stuff that has went in your mind about what you shouldn't be doing, and let it go. Sex is human nature. It's a part of creation. We have to learn to release and relieve ourselves from all this stuff we got going on in our heart. When it comes down to it, sexuality doesn't have to be complicated. So for those of you that have been newly divorced or newly separated, or your lover that you're with is in separate rooms from you, and you're no longer really intimate, you're no longer really in touch with each other, there needs to be some type of understanding inside of you that understands that without certain things in your life, especially sex, you're going to find yourself really in a bind. And what I mean by that is you're going to find yourself really out of balance. Because when you're not sexual and when you're not rejuvenating from the sexual energy you get from being with a partner, you'll find out, man, I don't get or feel certain joys anymore. I have a lot of insecurities. I feel uncomfortable about how I look or what I've got going on. And the truth is, a lot of those things comes from inside of here. This is another reason why you're not being able to have intimacy and really have a joy in it when you are in it. And also, orgasms for women can come four different ways. Men, yes, you can have multiple orgasms yourself. You don't have to just have one ejaculation. You can have many. But again, until you really want to sit down and truly pay attention and study the art of sex, not just because of obligation, but because you're curious about what is it I can do in my own sexuality and in my own understanding of me by myself and with a lover, what can I do to make sure that I have great intimacy with the partner I'm with? And that first comes down to curiosity. Are you curious about how to be to the best abilities of a lover to who you are with? Or are you constantly in judgment? Because everything that goes on in our minds shows up in our hearts. And then what shows up in our hearts is definitely going to determine how we are going to respond sexually, believe it or not. We will find ourselves so limited sexually if we don't sit down and really get to being honest with ourselves. Until we are really honest with self about what it is we need, what it is we desire, and what it is we want, we're going to find ourselves constantly in this rigmarole. So, the Nighty Night Thoughts is very, very simple. When you are feeling really frustrated sexually, 9 times out of 10 that comes from the fact that you're not in your highest level of self. So my strong suggestion for you is start studying yourself first. Because once you come out of a relationship and you come out of that intimacy that you were in, you need to now learn, well, what is it that you really miss? What is it that you really enjoyed? And what is it that you really are wanting to have in the future, in your future love life? Because these are really serious questions you have to have. A lot of times we don't have these questions with ourselves, so we're not honest with ourselves to know what it is we desire. We only think about, oh, I can have great orgasm with him, so I know it'll happen with all the others, and that's not true. You need to know what it is that you need when it comes to intimacy. What is it you need first? But first, you have to be honest with you. You got to study. Men, pay attention. It's very important. I used to work in durable medical equipment. I know what you guys are going through as far as sexuality. I also worked for a health insurance company over 20 years. I know the pleas and the cries that men are having because of lack of sexual energy. I know about the pumps you guys have to subject yourself to. I know about the blue pill and all that. I know all of those things because I worked in health insurance for years. I worked in DME, so I had to show men how to use the pump. I know all of these things, trust me. But outside of that, once we can get to a point where we understand sometimes it's not just about you. Your erectile dysfunction could be because you have the wrong lover. And she's just not bringing you to want to rise to her. And that could be because she's just out of tune with herself sexually. Again, I used to do the appeals for a very prominent health insurance company. And I heard the cries. I heard how men were frustrated sexually. So I know what's going on out here. I'm very aware. I am. But I want you to understand that the power first starts with the studying of what it takes to have the most joy while you're in the room with this woman. But to get there, you need to get here with studying and learning what it takes to get you to the highest level of sexual pleasure. And that comes from studying, learning. There's different there's different points on the penis that is very, very joyful and very, very pleasurable for you, but you maybe have never been touched there. So you have to sit back and look like, well, wait a minute, I didn't even know about that. Because you didn't study it. And sometimes you don't, like I told you earlier, sometimes women aren't into penetration, and they're not. The reason they're not is because they haven't had a lover that's really brought them to a place where she's inquisitive and wanting to know more about herself. So she's just never gotten that kind of experience. But again, gentlemen, if you really want to learn about having multiple orgasms and having more joy out of sexuality, you can. But you have to be willing to really sit down and do some hard studying. See, the truth of the matter is, we have such a negative attitude about studying. Unfortunately, I think schools have corrupted us to wanting to learn. And so they just put these different curriculums in front of us and cared less if we cared about it or not. We had to study it. And it really caused a lot of, just people not wanting to um, just not wanting to learn. They're just not wanting to have to do any more than Googling something. However, when you really sit down and study, you'll start to find out a lot of things you didn't know. And once you learn something about yourself sexually, you start to realize, oh my God, I didn't know that this was going to give me this much pleasure. And now that I know this, now I can start to make sure that I import this in my you know my love scenes with my lovers, and I can make sure that he knows what I need. But you can't tell him anything if you're unaware of yourself. That's one of the problems with most of us women. We don't know what to tell him because we're not sure. And we're uncertain. We're just doing it because we have to and just figure it's my wifely duty or it's my girlfriend chore I have to do because I'm in this relationship. But that's the problem. You got to get out of that thinking so that you can raise your own magnetism, so you can build a new foundation for what it takes to be in a great relationship and learn, man, I can have some joy here. I can change the game. Yes, you can. And then not just that. If you need a coach to help you, all you have to do is call me. My phone number is 8445-WISDOM, extension 0. You can call me and we can set up an appointment. My 30-minute sessions are $19. If you want to do a 45-minute session with me, that's $75. And then we can really get into learning some primary, intricate things for you to choose better. But first, learning about your soul, learning about you. That's number one. If you want to get a better sexual experience, you got to learn yourself. I'm a living soul profile reader. And I am a part of a numerology guidance system for the soul. And because I can actually give you so much information about your archetypes and what it takes for you to be more sound in your decisions, it will help you tremendously. However, you have to reach out to me in order to know any more about it, any more about that. So I put it out there for you to know. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. This channel is always full of so much information. I do a lot of things, not just coaching. I do energy body work, which means I'm attuned at Reiki level 2. So I do Reiki. I do a lot of things to make sure that my clients are taken care of. I also do coaching one-on-one, living soul readings. I do a lot. And then I also create jewelry. So again, I make sure that my clients are taken care of. Problem is, a lot of times people don't want to really study. Studying is not a bad thing. It's only bad when you don't study and you don't get the best sex you want. You want the best sex, but you don't want to take the time to learn about you. You have to first get to you first to know, what is it that I need? And then what is it that I want? Oh, and how does this correlate? How do these two things correlate? Well, they correlate based upon what your needs are. And then once you see, oh my goodness, this is what I need. Yes, this is what you need. Then you can back away from guilt. You can back away from feeling uncertain about what you're doing. And then you can be more present while being in a love scene with someone. Problem is, we can't really feel present when we feel all this guilt and shame. I'm just saying. So I'm out of here. Please be sure to share the video. And always remember, it's your coach, Carla Nicole. I'm signing off, guys. Best kept.